You're born into something most people only see in movies. Your grandfather arrived in San Francisco in 1952 with a suitcase and a promise to send money home. He washed dishes in a Chinatown restaurant owned by men who wore jade rings and spoke in code. By the time your father was born, those men were family, not blood family, the other kind. Your childhood is normal until it isn't. Birthday parties at dim sum restaurants where the owner never brings a check. Uncles who aren't uncles showing up at Christmas with envelopes of cash your mother counts in the bathroom. Your father manages an import-export business that seems to operate entirely through handshake deals and phone calls he takes in Cantonese on the balcony at midnight. You're 12 when you first notice the tattoo on his shoulder. A dragon coiled around a sword. He catches you staring and closes the door. School is a place you attend but don't belong to. The other Chinese kids are getting tutored for SATs and talking about UC Berkeley. You're getting C's and spending lunch with your cousin Tommy, who's 2 years older and already has a reputation. He shows you how to palm cards and spot a fake watch, and which blocks belong to which crews. Information that seems useless until suddenly it isn't. You're 16 when Tommy brings you to a restaurant in the back of a mall. Private room, 6 men playing mahjong, smoke hanging in the air like fog. One of them is Uncle Quan, though everyone just calls him Quan. He's maybe 50, wire thin, speaks English with barely an accent. He asks about school. You lie and say it's fine. He smiles like he knows and asks if you're good with numbers. You say yes. He slides an envelope across the table. $300 cash. All you have to do is stand outside a gambling den on Friday nights for 4 hours. Just stand there. Watch the street. Text a number if you see anything unusual. Police. Unfamiliar cars. Anything. You take the envelope. Your mother finds it a week later in your sock drawer. She doesn't yell, doesn't cry, just looks at you with something worse than disappointment. Recognition, like she's seeing your father's choices reflected in your face and there's nothing she can do to stop what's already in motion. The work escalates the way water becomes ice. Gradually, then all at once. You're collecting gambling debts from restaurant owners who smile to your face and count out bills with shaking hands. You're driving packages across the Bay Bridge at 2 a.m., never asking what's inside because asking is how you get hurt. You drop out at 17. School feels like a language you no longer speak. The ceremony happens in a basement in Oakland. 13 other guys your age, all Chinese, all sons or nephews or cousins of someone already in. Quan presides. There's an altar with oranges and incense and a portrait of Guan Yu, the god of brotherhood and war. You kneel. You drink tea mixed with your own blood and recite oaths in Cantonese you barely understand. Loyalty above all. Betrayal means death. The brotherhood is your family now. The words feel like theater until Quan looks each of you in the eye and you realize every man in this room has killed someone or will. They give you a Dai Lo, an older brother who will show you how things work. His name is Henry, but everyone calls him Fish because he never shows emotion. Fish is 28 and has been in since he was younger than you. He drives a Mercedes he bought with cash and wears shirts that cost more than your mother's rent. He takes you to collect a debt from a man who owns a noodle shop in the Sunset District. The owner is in his 60s. He's 3 weeks late on a payment to the gambling operation, $15,000. He cries and shows Fish his empty register and explains his daughter's medical bills. Fish listens politely. Then he picks up a cleaver from the counter and buries it in the wooden chopping block so hard the handle vibrates. He doesn't raise his voice, just says the money is due in 48 hours or the restaurant burns. The old man's hands won't stop shaking as he nods. Outside, Fish lights a cigarette and asks if you're okay. You say yes. He says most people think this work is about being tough. It isn't. It's about being consistent. Fear only works if people believe you'll follow through every single time. Mercy is a luxury that gets you killed. You think about that cleaver for 3 days. The sound it made going into the wood. The old man's face. You pay attention to how Fish moves through the world. He never sits with his back to a door. Never parks in a spot without 2 exits. Keeps 3 phones and rotates them weekly. In restaurants, he knows the staff by name and tips in hundreds. The performance is strategic. Generosity makes witnesses hesitate. Your cut increases. $500 a week becomes $1,000. You move your mother to a better building in Daly City. Tell her you got promoted at a warehouse job. She wants to believe it. The wanting does most of the lying for you. Quan assigns you to collections full time. You work with Fish and another guy named Dennis who talks too much and laughs at his own jokes. The three of you visit businesses that owe money to the gambling dens, the brothels, the loan sharking operation that Quan runs through a network of aunties in Chinatown who look like grandmothers and calculate interest like accountants. A mechanic in the Tenderloin owes $18,000. He's been dodging calls for 2 months. You find him at his shop after hours, under a Camry on a creeper. Fish drags him out by his ankles. The mechanic starts explaining before he's even standing. His wife left. His kid needs braces. Business is slow. Dennis gets bored and picks up a torque wrench, swings it into the Camry's windshield. The glass spiderwebs but doesn't break. He swings again. This time it collapses inward. The mechanic is screaming about how that's the customer's car. Dennis hits the side mirror, then the headlight. Fish watches without expression. When Dennis gets tired, Fish tells the mechanic he has 1 week. The mechanic pays in 6 days. You learn that violence is a language with grammar. Too much and you're a psychopath nobody wants to work with. Too little and you're soft. The sweet spot is controlled brutality. Enough to be memorable. Not enough to be prosecuted. At 19, you're in a massage parlor in the Richmond when 2 guys from a Vietnamese crew walk in trying to collect protection money from the owner. The owner is paying Quan. This is a territorial probe. Fish is in the back counting receipts. You're at the front desk. The first guy is older, maybe 30, neck tattoos and a gold watch. The second is younger, skinny, hands in his pockets. Gold watch does the talking. Says the neighborhood has new management. Says the owner needs to make a choice about who she wants protecting her business. You stand up. Tell him the choice is already made. He looks at you like you're a child who spoke out of turn. Asks how old you are. You don't answer. He steps closer. His breath smells like energy drinks. Says he's going to give you 1 chance to walk away and let the adults talk. Fish comes out from the back. Doesn't say a word. Just stands next to you. The whole room recalibrates. Gold watch recognizes Fish. You can see it happen. His posture changes. He says there's been a misunderstanding. Fish nods. Says misunderstandings are easy to clear up. All they have to do is leave and never come back. They leave. Outside, Fish lights a cigarette and tells you that you did the right thing by standing up. But next time, wait for backup before you open your mouth. Bravery without support is just suicide with an audience. The Vietnamese crew sends a message a week later. They shoot up a restaurant in the Excelsior that pays Quan protection money. Nobody's hurt, but the windows are gone and the owner is furious. Quan calls a meeting. 12 guys in a warehouse south of Market. He's calm, almost philosophical. Says territory is respect made visible. If you don't defend it, you don't have it. 3 nights later, you're in a car with Fish, Dennis, and 2 other guys you don't know well. Dennis is driving. You're in the back. Fish hands you a revolver. You've never held a gun before. It's heavier than you expected. He shows you how to check if it's loaded, how to hold it, how to aim. Says you probably won't need it, but carry it anyway. Insurance. You park 2 blocks from a pool hall in the Tenderloin where the Vietnamese crew hangs out. Fish says the plan is simple. Walk in. Make it clear this neighborhood isn't negotiable. Walk out. Nobody's getting shot unless they do something stupid. You walk in. 8 guys inside. Pool balls clacking. Cigarette smoke thick enough to taste. Gold watch is at the bar. He sees Fish and his whole body tenses. Fish says 1 sentence. This ends now, or it ends badly. What happens next takes 4 seconds but plays in your memory for years. Gold watch reaches for something under the bar. Fish shoots him in the leg. The sound is so loud it doesn't register as a gunshot at first. Just pressure. Then screaming. Everyone freezes. Fish keeps the gun pointed at the bartender. Says nobody else moves. You're holding your revolver but you don't remember pulling it out. Your hand is shaking. Fish backs toward the door. You follow. Outside, you run 2 blocks to the car. Dennis drives like traffic laws or suggestions. Nobody speaks. Your ears are ringing. Fish ejects the magazine, clears the chamber, puts the gun in a bag under the seat. At a red light, he looks at you. Says the first time is the hardest. After that, it's just a thing you've done. You throw up in a gas station bathroom 20 minutes later. The police investigate, but nobody talks. Not the bartender, not the customers, not Goldwatch who tells the hospital he tripped on a curb. The code isn't loyalty, it's survival. Cooperating with police makes you a target for everyone. The Vietnamese crew backs off. Quan's reputation solidifies. You're in deeper now. Not because you pulled the trigger, but because you were there when it happened. Complicity is a rope that tightens every time you don't walk away. At 21, you're running collections every Thursday. Restaurants, massage parlors, card rooms, a few small retail shops in Chinatown and the Richmond. Most owners pay without issue. It's a transaction. You hand them a receipt. They hand you an envelope. Quan keeps meticulous records. Everything documented like a legitimate business. The ones who don't pay get a visit from Fish. After that, they pay. You start making real money. $1,500 a week in cash. You buy a car. A used Lexus. Black leather interior. You take your mother to dim sum in North Beach and give her $2,000. She asks where it came from. You say you got a promotion. She doesn't believe you, but she takes the money. The rent is 3 months behind. You're good at the work because you're organized and you don't skim. Other guys get greedy. They pocket an extra 100 here and there thinking Quan won't notice. Quan notices everything. A collector named Tony disappears after a discrepancy in his envelopes. Nobody asks where he went. Dennis moves up, becomes Quan's primary enforcer. You become Dennis's right hand. It's not a promotion anyone celebrates. Fish retires to Sacramento, buys a small house. You visit once. He's gardening, growing tomatoes, talks about his grandkids, doesn't mention San Francisco. The distance between who he is now and who he was feels impossible, like watching someone walk out of their own skin. At 23, you meet Linda. She works at a bakery on Clement Street. You stop in twice a week for coffee. She has a degree in sociology from San Francisco State and a laugh that sounds like she means it. You don't tell her what you do. She assumes you work in restaurant management because you're always visiting restaurants. For 6 months it works. Then she sees you outside a card room with Dennis and 2 other guys. Sees the way the owner bows slightly when Dennis speaks. She's not stupid. That night she asks you directly. You lie. Say you do consulting. She asks what kind. You don't have an answer. She leaves your apartment and doesn't come back. You call twice. She doesn't pick up. You see her a year later walking with someone else. A guy in a button-down shirt carrying groceries. He looks like he works in tech. Like his biggest problem is traffic. You don't approach. There's a version of your life where you're that guy. You passed the exit a long time ago. At 25, the FBI starts showing up. Not at your door. In the background. A car that parks too long. A guy at a restaurant who doesn't eat. Quan says they've been building a case for 3 years. RICO statute, racketeering. They need a conspiracy. They need witnesses. Everyone tightens up. Conversations move to parks. Phones get replaced monthly. You start thinking about the math. If they've been watching for 3 years, they have enough. It's just a matter of when they move. Dennis says you're paranoid. 2 months later, the indictments come. 18 people. Quan, Dennis, you. The charges scroll like a resume. Extortion, illegal gambling, assault, conspiracy. Your bail is set at $200,000. Your mother cries in the courtroom. You don't look at her. Your lawyer says they have recordings, surveillance photos, financial records. Says the best option is cooperation. Reduced sentence. Witness protection maybe. You sit in county jail and think about Fish in Sacramento growing tomatoes. About Linda walking away. About Goldwatch screaming on a pool hall floor. The rope has been tightening for years. You just didn't feel it until now. You take the deal. Testify against Quan and Dennis in exchange for 8 years reduced to 4 with good behavior. The day you walk into court and speak into the microphone, you don't look at the defense table. You recite dates and locations and dollar amounts. The prosecutor asks if you were present when Henry Fish shot a man in the tenderloin. You say yes. Dennis stares at you like he's memorizing your face for later. There is no later. They both get 15 years. You get relocated to a city you've never seen. New name, new social security number, a studio apartment, and a job washing dishes at a restaurant where nobody speaks Cantonese. At night, you lie awake calculating how many choices it took to get here. The envelope at 16, the ceremony at 17, the cleaver in the chopping block. Every decision felt small at the time. Together they built a cage. Your mother doesn't know where you are. That's the terms. No contact, ever. Sometimes you walk past Chinese restaurants and hear the language through the door and your chest tightens like someone's pulling a cord. You're 32 now. You'll be looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life. Not because you're afraid of dying, because you're afraid of remembering who you were when you thought the rope was a ladder.